Hello all, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sean. This week is actually the 7th week of Abe Tseom, or Lent, in the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church. The weeks of Abe Tseom are actually named after individual people or individual things that the church decided to do this with. Saint Yared. He's the one that is given the most credit of naming the weeks for Abe Tseom throughout the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church. This particular week is named after Nicodemus, and seeing as how this is Nicodemus' tube, kind of figure we needed to talk about him a little bit this week. So for those of you that don't know, Nicodemus is mentioned 3 times in the Bible. He's mentioned in John 3:1-21. This is where you were first introduced to him. He's learning about being born again. He's learning about how baptism works, and then just interacting with Jesus for the first time. The second time that you hear about him is in John 7:50 and 51. This is after Jesus has actually been arrested, and he's trying to remind all the other Pharisees that we have laws, and you can't just put somebody to death because you don't like them. And the third and final time that we hear about Nicodemus in the Bible is in John 19:38-42. That's where you hear about him with Joseph of Arimathea getting Jesus' body, preparing it for burial, and then burying it in the tomb. Now, an important thing to know about Nicodemus is he was considered to be the teacher of Israel. Those are actually words that Jesus says in John 3:1-21. He mentions in those lines that Nicodemus is considered the teacher of Israel. This is believed to mean that he is basically considered one of the smartest men in the Pharisees and the Sadducees. You then look at the fact that he was a very, very wealthy man, and he was a very powerful man as far as what he could do outside of the church as well. During the time that Jesus was around and Nicodemus started trying to actually interact with him, it was actually a crime, and you would forfeit all land, titles, and money if you were caught interacting with Jesus. So that's an important thing to understand, why when you read those verses about Nicodemus, that the reason he's going at night is he's still a little scared about being caught with him and what could potentially happen, even though he himself knows that there is something about this particular person that is claiming to be the Messiah. Because at that point in time, there were many people out there trying to claim this. When Jesus first came out, Nicodemus, along with a lot of other Pharisees, probably were just like, oh, here's another one. But then Nicodemus starts hearing about the miracles that he's doing, how he's starting to line up with a lot of the prophecies that were told throughout the scriptures and throughout the scrolls. He's starting to line up with these things, and Nicodemus sees this, understands this, and needs to know who this person is. So he spends the nights getting to know Jesus, talking to him, learning things from him, and understanding that no, this guy isn't a pretend Messiah. He's the real thing. But how does he get all of his other Pharisees to believe this? And at certain points, it's believed that Nicodemus actually was going to try to travel with Jesus. He doesn't, because he cannot bring himself to leave his power, his money, his wealth, his family, and Jesus mentions that he needs him where he's at and tells him to stay where he is. So later on in the Bible, Jesus is, of course, arrested because of the acts that Judah does, and he's brought in, and the Pharisees and the Sadducees are just, hey, let's take him, have him killed. It's donezo time. He's got to go. And in that time, that's when Nicodemus in John 7:50 and 51, that's when he raises his hands and tells his fellow Pharisees and Sadducees, hey, we know we don't like him, but we are a country and a people of laws, and we can't just kill him willy-nilly. We have to have a reason to do that. It's his attempt at trying to save Jesus's life, even though he kind of knows that it's over and that Jesus is going to go. Then later on, Nicodemus is actually at the crucifixion. He witnesses everything that happens with Jesus, and at the end of Jesus' life, he's killed, and they take him down. They were actually going to just try to throw his body in garbage, to try to prove that this guy was not who he said it was. That's how little respect the Pharisees and the Sadducees had for Jesus at the time. Nicodemus was able to use his power, his money, his influence to let the Romans give him the body of Jesus, and with Joseph of Arimathea, then go down. They during Passover, they are now handling a dead body, and they are wrapping him, covering him in oils, covering him in myrrh. In doing this thing, what needs to be also told and understood is when Nicodemus and Joseph of Arimathea are touching the body of Christ after he has been killed, they are actually considered unclean. And if you remember, all of this is going down during Passover, a very sacred tradition for the Jewish community. So they know that Jesus is so important that they sacrifice being unclean during Passover to handle Jesus's body, give him the proper burial, wrap him in the appropriate wraps, cover him in myrrh, cover him in oil. They all knew that this was an important thing. They did it. They then sealed up the tomb, and the rest we all know. So Nicodemus is a very small but important figure in the Bible. I hope you guys learned some more about it. I hope that this was entertaining and informative for you guys. Enjoy the seventh week of Abe Seyom or Lent. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.